Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is August 12th, and right now we're looking at the infrared satellite imagery. You can see the upper level low continuing to spin off the Washington coastline, taking its sweet time before it finally ejects across up into British Columbia tomorrow. You can see this thunderstorm activity going on through eastern Washington and Oregon. Some severe thunderstorm warnings with some of these cells as well. This one approaching Ritzville, Washington, probably bringing some rainfall to the dust devil areas out there. Not good dust devil chasing today. Checking this out, though, you can see that there's going to be quite a bit of thunderstorm activity for eastern portions today. This is going to include British Columbia probably through this afternoon as well. The SPC has severe thunderstorms mainly east of Washington, Oregon, but they probably could have included eastern Washington, Oregon as well. Looking at the visible satellite imagery here, you can kind of see these low clouds. Should be burning off for most areas today. You see that upper level convection moving through and not bringing any precipitation right now. Maybe a stray thunderstorm here for some of the higher terrain of western BC, maybe the North Cascades, but hard to say if that's going to happen yet or not. And here on the visible, you can kind of see those thunderstorms popping up across eastern Washington. Those are probably nice and photogenic looking. Now looking here, day one outlook, check this out. We got wind and hail threat. This has been upgraded to 15% just east of the Washington-Oregon border for the Idaho Panhandle, extreme western Montana there. So heads up, some of these storms are looking like they're going to be severe today. In fact, they're already going on, as I said. And you can see that slight chance for the North Cascades to pick up a thunderstorm as well. And some of the severe potential would include eastern British Columbia as well here. And then day two is this convection starts to push off a little further to the east, and day three even further so. So taking a look, fire danger here is elevated for eastern Oregon, northern California, northeast Nevada here. And really this would extend for, this could be issued for really any place, eastern BC, eastern Washington, eastern Oregon, as we talked a little bit about yesterday. Look at SeaTac yesterday, 81, 3 degrees above average, probably close to average today. Portland, 88, nice and warm, 5 degrees above average. We're going to remain seasonably close to average these next couple of days before this upper level low kicks out, and we'll start to warm it up again next week. How much will we warm up? Are we looking at a heat wave or just a general warm up? There is some pretty significant model disagreement on what we're going to do here next week. We'll take a look at that here shortly. This is the European. It picked up this activity this morning pretty well across eastern Washington, as you can kind of see here. Not bad for the European. You can see this activity continuing on through this afternoon. Maybe a stray thunderstorm through southern BC, the higher terrain, North Cascades, and of course the severe potential out here, eastern Washington, Oregon, and Idaho Panhandle continues. And as we go on in through Saturday, you can see that activity kind of kick off there to the east. And by Sunday, we're probably not looking at any thunderstorms here across Pacific Northwest, maybe through eastern BC up there, a stray storm or two. But we'll continue to watch that, and we'll watch for the next system to roll in here, and when it does, and see if we're going to introduce any more thunderstorm threats to the region here. This is looking at the NAM3KM. This is a good example of the high-resolution model not doing very well. Didn't pick up any of that thunderstorm activity here for eastern Washington this morning. It's now, after 9:30, and it did not pick that up well at all. But it does show later on this afternoon maybe a stray shower up here by Vancouver Island, North Cascades. And, of course, it's not really showing that activity out here across the Idaho Panhandle. So I don't think the NAM has been performing very well today. Here's the HER 3KM. This runs every hour, and you can see it did pick up some of this thunderstorm activity here. Didn't show up being very strong, but it did pick it up across portions near Ritzville here. And then this afternoon, kind of showing some of those stronger, severe storms out here for the Idaho Panhandle. Now, taking a look here, this is the NAM3KM. This is CAPE, Convective Available Potential Energy. You can see some pretty good values here through eastern Washington, Oregon, Idaho. And then this eventually kicks out tomorrow a bit further east, and Sunday. We're going to relax the thunderstorm threat around here, at least for a few days. So we'll continue to watch that as we go into the future. But now let's take a look at next week here. Here's the GFS ensemble mean. This is a 12Z run coming in hot right now. This is the first time I'm looking at it here. This is upper level low moving through. Then we start to build this ridge as we go into early and mid next week. The GFS has been showing this ridge pretty, it's been pretty persistent with this ridge here, but it's a little bit to the east here. So we're going to maintain some kind of onshore flow probably for western portions here, but confidence is higher in heat for eastern Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, eastern BC as we go on into mid next week. Now let's take a look at the GFS, the standard run here. Let's update this and make sure we have the up-to-date information. This is the first time I'm looking at this as well. This is hot off the presses. There goes that upper level low swing through. The trough digs out over the Gulf of Alaska, amplifies this ridge across the region, kind of showing pretty similar to the ensemble mean average there. And you can see, again, this ridge is kind of setting up a little bit east here. So we're going to maintain some semblance of an onshore flow for western portions, but we will still warm up. We're probably not going to be breaking any record highs across western Washington coming up here. As you can see, the GFS then introduces that trough later next week. That would bring us a marine push, but then it starts to build this ridge again here as this Pacific high kind of noses into the area here, and we would warm up again in a scenario like that. So we're not going to be record high, but we're going to get warm, and then we're going to cool down a bit and then potentially warm up again. Let's see if the European starts to show that here. Here's yesterday afternoon's ensemble mean. There's our upper level low kicking through. There goes the trough amplifying the ridge, and you can kind of see this ridge positioned over the Intermountain West here by this pressure here, 591. You can see this ridge build up mostly into Alberta here, Canada. So again, confidence higher for eastern portions here, being in more of a heat wave scenario versus western Washington, Oregon, which we will warm up, but not towards record highs. You can see then the European kicks this trough kind of north through BC and then drops another trough over the Gulf of Alaska here, and yet another ridge building, and it's extended as well. So some agreement there with the GFS on another ridge building in the extended. But we'll look at some more temperatures here in a moment. We'll look at some ensemble temperatures for Seattle and Portland to try to see how much we're going to warm up here in a minute. So here's just the standard European run yesterday here at 0Z, yesterday afternoons. And you can see it doesn't really build in this ridge too much. Look at this. So as that upper level low kicks through, look at this. This ridge kind of stays way out on the Mountain West here. It starts to try to build in a little bit here, but it's not that strong. It would warm us up across the area, but it would not be a really dominant ridge. I mean, it does start to pick up again here Wednesday here. As you can see, the 591 heights are right about here, and you can kind of see that this trough is coming down through southeast Alaska into BC. It's kind of a pretty robust looking trough there that would swing through before the Pacific high tries to nose back in again and maybe warm us up again in the extended forecast, but we're getting a little too far out there at this point. Now here's 850 millibar streamlined winds and temperature anomaly here. This is the European mean. There goes that upper level low swinging through the area. Then we start to warm things back up again. And you can see we warm up fairly decently through midweek here, but not the big differences we were showing a couple days ago, but still pretty warm and still a high confidence that we're going to be very warm here for eastern portions of Washington and Oregon here. And then you can see on through the extended here, again, as we start to warm up a bit. So we're going to remain above average, a high likelihood as we go through August into late August here, as this troughing over the Gulf of Alaska has just been so persistent. I mean, I'm not sure how this is going to transition into the fall. Is this going to hang around and become a feature during the fall too, and maybe really spawn some strong storms and throw them into the Pacific Northwest in the form of a windstorm or two? It's just something we'll have to see. But Alaska's just been plagued by these deep troughs coming down through there. There've been below average temperatures, above average rainfall for Alaska in the summertime up there. Now, taking a look here, this is the European here, 850 millibar temperature anomaly here. You see us warm up pretty well through midweek, but it doesn't last too long before you see that cooler air kick through British Columbia here, then maybe the Pacific high rebuilding and bringing us above average again into the extended. But again, we have time to look at that extended portion of the forecast as it goes. Right now, we're trying to figure out next week. So you can see the GFS kicked that through, and you see here through midweek here, definitely more of a bullseye here for eastern portions here. Above average for western Washington, Oregon, BC. But again, not a giant heat wave coming up here, just a warm up at this point is what we're looking at. Now looking here, Portland International, here's the European ensemble runs. You can see yesterday had Portland flirting with 100 degrees here, more something in the low, maybe to mid 90s here as we go through Wednesday. It is a warm up, but it is not a record breaking heat wave on the way. It does not look like at this point, folks. As you can see, probably around average today for Portland, then maybe a little below tomorrow as that upper level low kicks through. Then we start to warm it back up again. And then this is kind of showing that Pacific high nosing in again, but that's way out there. We're not going to pay attention to that yet. Here's the European yesterday for Seattle, keeping us right around average and a little bit below tomorrow, then starting to warm us up as we go into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So more of, something into the low to mid 80s for SeaTac. And some of these days might translate into upper 80s, but we're not looking at record high temperatures. So we're not looking at some kind of a big hype heat wave coming up here, but it is definitely going to be warmer next week coming up. Tri-Cities. Now looking here, you can see that well into the hundreds is probably forecast Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for the Tri-Cities here. So there is a greater confidence in some very warm temperatures coming for eastern Washington. Places like eastern Oregon, Idaho, Montana are going to get some above average temperatures, higher confidence there. So yeah, we're not looking at a giant heat wave, probably no record temperatures for Seattle or Portland. We'll continue to watch this as this heat's probably going to build up pretty good again here for eastern Washington. Now they've had a pretty hard summer over there, some pretty extreme heat, especially in that last heat wave there for some of that Columbia Basin area, the Tri-Cities, etc. But yeah, so if you're headed eastbound through eastern Washington, Oregon, Idaho today, I-90, I-84, whatever it might be, heads up. There's some severe storm potential out there. Dangerous lightning would be associated with these storms as well. We're probably okay here, western Washington, Oregon. You might see a straight thunderstorm North Cascades, some of the higher terrain of British Columbia here too, and maybe a slight chance of one firing up here over the higher terrain of Vancouver Island, maybe moving over the Strait of Georgia here. We'll see. I wouldn't put too much confidence in that at this point. But yeah, the page has been doing really good, guys. Once it gets to 10,000 subscribers, I can open like a YouTube store on this channel. So if you guys haven't subscribed yet, please do so. And for everyone who's been supporting the channel, you're making this all possible. I really can't give enough thanks for you guys supporting the page. Continue to leave comments. Let me know what kind of weather you guys are getting around the area here. And let me know if you have anything else you'd like to see on here. As the weather gets active into the fall, though, again here, it's going to get a lot more crazy. We're going to start to get windstorms and big rain events and atmospheric rivers. And then eventually we'll be moving into the territory of, late fall snow potential for the Cascades and for the higher terrain. And then maybe even some lowland snowfall through December as we move into a La Nina winter here. Those are all potential possibilities here. And I have a lot of data on La Nina, and I'll be breaking it down. I'll probably do a few, at least one video just on La Nina, and we'll compare what kind of conditions we get during winter months with La Nina versus El Nino, what kind of snowfalls we generally see, what kind of rainfalls we get, average wind speeds. We'll go over all that once we get closer to the fall and winter months. So anyway, hope you guys are out there and enjoying the weather. Should be a nice day west Willamette Valley, Puget Sound, Southwest BC. You'll see those high clouds. You probably look outside and see those puffy white clouds out there right now. And of course, if you're east, you're seeing those thunderstorms roll across the area. So heads up for those. So anyway, we'll do this again tomorrow. We'll check out to see if anything changes on that heat wave front. But right now, it just looks like a warm up for western Washington, Oregon, BC, but warmer for eastern Washington and Oregon. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow.